I think the messages out of the GOT are now quite clear, that climate change is really already impacting and will impact more, with very specific consequences that are in a way worse for the region than compared to others. So it's clearly on the water issues. Water shortage appears. That's the first conclusion I'm taking back, is that really water issue would be the major issue out of climate change in the region. Desertification on one side, less rains, and really a problem for a number of rivers. We have already a migration concern in Europe because of unemployment in North Africa and the eastern part of Mediterranean Sea. Of course, climate change will increase the migration effect, both, of course, mostly locally, but as well as the consequences of less capacity to produce in agriculture and more desertification. Again, food production is already a problem in the region. The southern bank and the Middle East are heavily importing from the world markets and from Europe. This would certainly worsen because, of course, the demographic dimension, and because this water problem impacts directly to agriculture. Even the exports of North Africa to Europe on high-value agricultural products would probably be much more difficult. So food shortage and food scarcity would certainly be a concern for the region. On one hand, certainly we see already that the political destabilization is, of course, favoring, at least on the short-term, migration, because people don't know exactly what will happen, and they take the opportunity of less control, political control, to try to migrate. But that is, I think, a short-term aspect. On the longer term, this political change, of course, nobody knows where they will end, but they can open a window of more democratic debate, more concern about the collectivity. All these regimes in the North African countries were characterized by autocracy and the sort of the capture of the rent of the economy against the interest of the people. If you imagine that, I hope so, a more democratic, more inclusive system will be established, then all this question of the collective question, which means agriculture situation, the urbanization process, would be more dealt with more responsible policies. It's of course different when you look at the different countries from North Africa. Some were more interested in looking at adaptation, but in most of the case, you didn't have really a very progressive agricultural policy for the poor, the rural poor. I think that can change. And that could be a very good measure for adaptation, because we need these people to be able to stay and to adapt to new climate circumstances. I think a very important issue is really the urbanization and littoralization of the development. And more urban people have to be sort of adapted to this climate change. And that require very strong policies, which were not taken for the moment.